Shri Harim Paramanandam, Shri Harim Paramanandam, Upadeshtaramishwaram, Upadeshtaramishwaram, Vyapakam Sarvalokanam, Vyapakam Sarvalokanam, Karanam tam namamyaham, Karanam tam namamyaham. I salute Sri Hari of the nature of infinite bliss, the primal teacher and the Lord of all, who pervades all the worlds as the very existence of those worlds, the causal existence of all the worlds. Now, in yesterday, the evening session, we started the process of self-inquiry. Who am I or what am I? And the way this was done is looking into our own experience and examining our presupposition. We take it for granted without any question that I am this body-mind. But Vedanta disputes that. Vedanta says, look at our experience of the body-mind and notice that the body is an object and you are the experiencer of that object. Body is seen and I am the seer. Drig Drishya, the first pointer. Another pointer was that I am always conscious of things and the body is a thing. I'm conscious of the body. So, for example, when we do meditation, we are asked to be conscious of the breath. We are asked to be conscious of the body. Now, what Vedanta takes away from that, it's a good practice, but what Vedanta takes away from that is, oh, so you are conscious of the body. The body is not told to be conscious of you. So I am conscious of the body, which means the body is insentient, I am sentient. Chit jara in Sanskrit, second pointer. Another pointer we saw was, obviously the body is changing continuously, and I feel intuitively that I am the same person. Baby and a child and a teenager and the youth and the middle-aged person. This refers to the changing body. And I am the one who was the baby, who was in that teenager's body, in the youthful person's body, and in the middle-aged person's body, and in the senior person's body. So the body is changing and I am unchanging. Another pointer which we saw was the body is complex, made of so many parts. And I always regard myself as a unit, as one. One and many, ekam anekam. Another one which we saw was I always regard myself as inner to the body, somewhere in there. Antara in Sanskrit. And the body feels, if you look at our own experience, it feels that it's around me, out. So inner and outer. Because of these pointers, you say, so what? Because of these pointers, we cannot be the body. I cannot be this body. Being the seer and the seen, therefore, they cannot be the same, so I cannot be the body. The conscious and the non-conscious, they cannot be the same. And therefore, I cannot be the body. The changing and the unchanging, they cannot be the same. Two things cannot be one thing at the same time. I cannot be the body, therefore. The complex and the simple, the two cannot be the same. Therefore, I am not the body. The inner and the outer, I cannot be both outer and inner at the same time. So I cannot be both the container and the contained at the same time. Therefore, I am not the body. And there are many other pointers also. Notice all of them, the verses, they were all dealing with the physical body, but we also mentioned that there's a subtle body within us. And we feel it. You say, somebody will ask, what's the proof that we have a subtle body? Nobody asks, what's the proof of this body? It's evident. But the subtle body, actually, when we look inside, we find it. We find the subtle body. The mind, thoughts, feelings, emotions, our memories, ideas. So the subtle body, am I the subtle body? And most people stop there. Most sensitive, educated adults will say that, yes, I am this person. I'm a person composed of my habits and thoughts and memories, my particular life story. This person I am, and I'm somehow in this body. But Vedanta disputes that too. You will notice that all those pointers, they apply equally to the subtle body. They apply equally to the mind. We will see Shankaracharya himself has one verse, after many verses showing that I am not the physical body. Then in one verse, he thinks we are well trained now. So in one verse, verse number 39, we could go to verse number 39 now in the PDF. In one verse, Shankaracharya takes up the subtle body, the mind, and shows that I cannot be the mind too. I cannot be the mind either. So verse number 39, let's read the verse, and then I will go through the pointers. He actually gives 6 pointers there. Yeah. So can we blow that up? Expand it. We can do this the old style way. You know, in the old days, they didn't have books. They would listen to the teacher and repeat after that. And that's how they memorized, actually. Oh, there you have it. So verse number 39. 39, yeah. Almost there, right. Yeah. Please repeat after me. Lingam chaneka sangyuktam, lingam chaneka sangyuktam, chalam drishyam vikari cha, chalam drishyam vikari cha, avyapakam asadrupam, avyapakam asadrupam, tatkatham syat pumanayam, tatkatham syat pumanayam. What does it mean? Even the subtle body has many parts, and it moves. It is an object of perception. It is subject to change. It is non-pervasive and is also false. And therefore, I cannot be this subtle body. So these are the pointers. What do they mean? Some of them are familiar. When we look at it, we feel that, yeah, this is what we studied yesterday. But let's take them up one by one. First of all, the word lingam here means the subtle body. I have been, in a general sense, saying subtle body means the mind, but let's be more precise now. In Vedanta, there is a more precise definition of the subtle body. They say the subtle body has 19 parts. What are the 19 parts? The 5 sense organs. Now, remember, when it says the 5 sense organs, it does not mean the physical organs, not the physical nose. Obviously, these are parts of the physical body. The nose, the ears, the skin, these are parts of the physical body, the eyes. But the powers, the functions, those are parts of the subtle body. So they're called the 5 sense organs. Similarly, the 5 motor functions, walking and talking and holding, grasping, things like that, they are also part of the subtle body. So we have 5 sense organs, 5 motor organs, 10. And then there's something called the prana, which is something we study a lot in yoga. The physiological functions which keep this body alive. So the prana is supposed to be of 5 types. Pancha prana. Prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. So the 5 pranas. We won't go into that. You do study them in the Hatha Yoga classes. So 5 pranas. And then, most important, 4 functions of what is called the inner instrument, antahkarana, inner instrument. Mind, intellect, memory, and ego. Mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. Mind, thoughts, which are coming all the time. Intellect, which gives understanding, that aha moment when you say, I get it. When you're working on a math problem, struggling with it this way or that way, that's the mind, manas. Once you make the breakthrough, get it, oh, I understand it now. That's the intellect, which gives knowledge. Then there is the memory, the storehouse of all our past impressions, our experiences, the memory, chitta. And the coordinating function, the I sense, the ego, ahankara, in Sanskrit, ahankara. Notice immediately that the I sense, which is all important to me, everything is about the I. But this I, and I mean the vertical I, not this one, the I, that is also a function of the mind. It's the mind which says I. And it has a function. What does it do? It coordinates. So all the functions of the body and the mind, they're all coordinated by this I function. What it means is, hungry, I am hungry. Sleepy, I am sleepy. Trying to remember, I am trying to remember. So you see, the I is a coordinating function. It appropriates. In Sanskrit, abhimanatmika vritti, a movement of the mind which coordinates all the functions of the body-mind unit. That is called the I. That's also a part of the mind. That's a the mind is a complex unity. So the subtle body has these 19 parts: 5 sense organs, 5 motor organs, 5 pranas, and mind, intellect, memory, ego, 4. That makes 19. So this is one way of classifying the subtle body. So this subtle body, am I this subtle body? Most of us, without any questioning, we generally identify ourselves with this subtle body. Thoughts, emotions, ideas, my personal story, and the ego, this is who I am. But Vedanta says, wait a minute. Let's use these pointers to examine whether we are our minds. I'm using the mind in a general sense, including all of this. So am I my mind? Even the language that I'm using, my mind, it immediately means that I am not the mind exactly. Let's see the pointers. The first pointer, it says, aneka sangyuktam. The mind or the subtle body is a complex entity. We just said it has 19 parts. And each of those parts is quite complex. This complex entity, and I, the experiencer, the one who is experiencing the mind, using the mind, I always regard myself as, do you remember, single, one. I am one, and the mind has got many, many parts. The subtle body has many parts. One and the many, the simple and the complex, they cannot be the same. Therefore, I am not the mind. Remember again, it's not just an argument. It's just not a philosophical argument. We must first hear it, think about it, understand, oh, it is so, that's right. The mind has so many parts, and I seem to be a unity. You understand it, and then look at it as a matter of fact, as a matter of experience. It's true. When you look at it, and can you say honestly that it is true? The mind is complex, I am one, I cannot be the mind. The complex and the one, they cannot be the same thing together. The second pointer, chalam. And this is a new one. It requires a little bit of investigation. Chalam, the word, it's translated as unstable, but not, the mind can be unstable. Yes, most of us, to some degree or other, we might be unstable. But this is not exactly what it means. One of the commentators puts it this way. You see, taking a step back, the physical body, the gross body, this body dies inevitably. We all die. When we say we die, but now we must be able to say that the body dies. The physical body dies. Vivekananda put it so eloquently. Kings die and paupers die, saints die and sinners die, the learned die and the ignorant die. Everybody dies. The body dies. But does the subtle body die? The sukshma sharira, the subtle body, the mind and all its constituent parts, does it die? A materialist, reductionist approach, most doctors today in modern scientific approach would be, yes, it does. There's no proof of that, but yes, it does. Why would you say that? Because, well, the assumption is somehow this mind is produced by the body. So when the body dies, the mind also dies. But there's no proof of that, and especially if the hard problem of consciousness is making people think twice, that whether there is actually that the body produces the mind or the mind is an independent entity, consciousness is an independent entity apart from the physical body, operating through the body. Notice this is a subtle point I'll put before you for your examination. Notice this. There's a trick which we play upon ourselves. When I say you, the person, I don't mean just the body. I mean you, the person in that body. Your unique thoughts, feelings, emotions, your personality. So when I say you are alive, I'm talking to you, I mean the person in the body. That in our terms, the subtle body. I'm referring to the subtle body. But when a doctor says the person is dead, when the person is dead, all that we see is the physical body is dead. How do I know that the person inside is dead? So obviously you're not talking, thinking, or you're not communicating. Obviously the person cannot communicate. The body is dead. And there are numerous examples of people being in coma. It seems that sometimes they are aware inside or under anesthesia too, a horrible thought, being operated upon, and still you're aware. It seems to be under anesthesia from outside, but inside you're still aware. Now, the subtle body, the person, is it possible that the person continues with this? His physical body is dead. In fact, all the religions of the world, without exception, they say that the subtle body continues. Every religion. Think about it. Religion itself would not be possible without some form of what is called afterlife. Whether you're going to heaven or hell or other bodies and other lives, every religion, whether it is Hinduism or Buddhism, it's very interesting that Hinduism and Buddhism, they have tremendous difference in the terms of the nature of the soul, in terms of the question of God. And the Hindus are theists, the Buddhists are not theists, agnostic or atheist, the question is still out. But so there are so many huge differences, and yet they agree that there is a continuity after death, that you go on to other lives and other incarnations. We have existed in the past, and we will exist in the future, before this body and after this body. What existed before this body? What will exist after the death of this body? When the physical body is born, the subtle body was already in existence. It inhabits the newborn baby's body. When the physical body dies, the subtle body continues to other worlds, other lives. So this is a belief in every religion. In Christianity, the body is buried, but you talk about the immortal soul, about going to the afterlife, about going to heaven or hell. What goes to heaven or hell? Not this physical body. It's a subtle body. In every religion. So there is this concept of a subtle body persisting after death. And in Hinduism, of course, the Indian religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, we talk about the subtle body going through many, many, many lives. So this subtle body, the point we are making here is it transmigrates, it moves on. Once the physical house is destroyed, when it dies, the subtle body, it can no longer use this for playing out its karma, it moves on to other lives and gets other bodies according to its past karma. Now the pointer here is the subtle body moves. It goes on from life to life. And this moving subtle body is experienced by one unmoving consciousness. I experience the coming and going, the movement of the subtle body. I do not move with the subtle body. So this unmoving consciousness and the moving, transmigrating subtle body, the word is transmigration, going from one life to another. I, the non-transmigrating consciousness, and the transmigrating subtle body, they cannot be the same. The subtle body must be different. It's a body. It's different from me, the witness consciousness. So that's the pointer here. Then the next one is, we are familiar with it, drishyam. The subtle body is a matter of observation. It's an object that I experience. It is seen not with the physical eyes, but with consciousness. Are we not aware of our feelings and emotions and thoughts? When I'm happy, I'm aware that I'm happy. When I'm sad, I'm aware that I'm sad. When I'm in pain, I'm aware that I'm in pain. Pain and pleasure, happiness and sadness, desire, frustration, understanding, not understanding, memory or the loss of memory, these are all experienced. Since these are experienced, these are all functionings of the subtle body. They are experienced. They are an object of experience. So the subtle body is an object, just as this is an object and I see it inside the subtle body. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas, also an object, experienced by what? What is experiencing the subtle body? Consciousness. I am aware of the subtle body. So, subtle body, drishyam. And drishyam means what is seen. And you, the consciousness, I, the consciousness, drashta, the seer. The two cannot be the same. We have seen this pointer earlier. Moving on, the next one, vikari, changeful. This is one of the most common features of the subtle body, the mind. Does the mind change? You will say, oh boy, does it change? Even today, just today, after waking up till now, how many times, sleepy and then alert, happy and then bored and excited and curious. The mind changes so much within a space of 2 or 3 hours. And as we go on throughout the day, in one day, how many changes in the mind? Then how can I be the mind? Tell me, which mind are you? Are you the sad mind? Then you should be sad all the time. Are you the happy mind? You should be happy all the time. And somebody said, the teacher was teaching this, somebody said, I'm both. And the teacher said, oh, I'm both. I'm a donkey too and a cow too. No, I can't be both. And then the student said, I see what you mean. The mind is sad and the mind is happy, and I experience the sad mind and I experience the happy mind. That's right. If you experience the sad mind and if you experience the happy mind, the curious mind and the bored mind, then which one are you? None of them. You are the experiencer of a changeful mind. The mind changes continuously, fast, much faster than the physical body. The changeful mind, the ever-changeful mind, and the unchanging witness consciousness behind the mind, they cannot be the same. I cannot be that. We put on dresses, different shirts and trousers and so hats. Which one am I? You'll say, what a silly question, Swami. I'm not a dress. I'm not what I'm wearing. They keep changing. I'm the same person. Correct. In the same way, the mind keeps changing. And I am the experiencer of the changeful mind. I am not the mind. Even this pointer itself should lead to so much sense of freedom. Oh, I'm not stuck with this mind. Even the most oppressive, depressed mind, I am not it. Even the most obsessive thoughts, there is a gap. At the very least, when I fall asleep, when I'm deep sleep, not waking, not dreaming, in deep sleep, the mind has shut down. Even the most obsessive thoughts have gone. Even the most depressing thoughts have gone. Even the most guilty thoughts have gone. They belong to the mind, not to me, the witness consciousness. You can, in fact, drop the mind. Swami, how can I'm so attached to the mind? You're not attached to the mind. We're trying to hold on to the mind. Mind is like an ever-flowing river. It is not attached to you. Why are you trying to hold on to it? It's continuously flowing. Which thought are you attached to? None of it. It comes and goes. Every thought comes and goes. The mind which is continuously changing, and I, the unchanging witness consciousness, the two of us cannot be the same. Then the next one, the next pointer, adhyapakam. This is one we have not seen earlier. Non-pervasive. This is a little subtle. What it means is this. A simple, powerful fact. There are times when you exist, when you are there, the mind is not there. What time is it? What time when do I experience I am there and the mind is not there? Deep sleep is one. Deep sleep is one. We will not go into it. It's a big subject. Do I exist in deep sleep? If I did not, who slept? What slept? In deep sleep, notice, in a waking state, the mind is fully active. It is connected to the sensory system and experiencing a physical world. When I fall asleep and dream, the mind is partially active. It generates its own movies inside, which we call dreams. It's still active. Something is happening. When the dream cease, we go into deep sleep. I'm not aware of the physical world. I'm not aware of the body. I'm not aware of the mind. Mind has shut down. It's in a potential seed state. And yet I experience that state of no mind, of absolute rest, of blankness. So this is what we are talking about, a consciousness which continues even when the mind has shut down. The mind shuts down in deep meditation too. In deep meditation, at least there are moments when the mind is absolutely quiet. And we are still there to experience that absolute quietness. The central idea of yoga, yoga's chitta vritti nirodha, the cessation of the functioning of the mind, of the vrittis of the mind, that is yoga. Patanjali Yoga aims at samadhi. So samadhi is the absolute quietness of the mind. And there's a purpose to that, why we do that. But Vedanta takes away from that there are times when the mind is not functioning, is not there, and you are there. So the mind is non-pervasive. There are states when you are there and the mind is there. There are states when you are there and the mind is not there, or not functioning. In that case, how can you be the mind? I exist, mind is not there at a particular instant, deep sleep or deep meditation, then I cannot be the mind. If I were the mind, then I wouldn't be there either. So, there's a funny example which teachers give. This old gentleman comes, gives you a grandfatherly smile, and you wonder, are they his own teeth or are they dentures? Now, usually they're together. You don't know whether they are separate or they're the same. The only way you can know is if you suddenly pay him a surprise visit and knock at his door, and he opens the door and gives you a sweet, toothless smile, and the dentures are sitting in a bowl there. So you realize, oh, the two are separate. They are not part, the teeth are not natural, they're not part of that particular body. So in the same way, if there is a situation when the mind is not there and yet I continue, I cannot be the mind. The mind must be something separate from me. So that's the pointer. Abhyapakam. I am all pervasive, waking, dreaming, deep sleep. The mind is not pervasive. Waking and dreaming, mind is there. Deep sleep, mind is not there. So I cannot be the mind. The next one is really difficult. That's why I didn't use it. Asadrupam. But it is incredibly powerful. It says the mind is, after all, an appearance, false. It doesn't really have any individual, independent existence apart from you. Now, this is a little difficult to understand, but understand it this way. The mind and consciousness, what is their relationship? The waves in the ocean out there, they have no independent existence apart from the water. The wooden furniture, the plastic chairs, they have no independent existence apart from the plastic. Take away the water, no waves. Take away the plastic, no chairs. But remember, the water has an independent existence, independent of the waves. The water can exist without the waves. Water can exist as calm water. The water can exist as water vapor and so on. But it doesn't have to be a wave. The plastic can exist without being a chair. It was not a chair before it was made into a chair. Similarly, consciousness is independent and the mind is dependent on consciousness. This dependent existence is called falsity in Vedanta. We'll see more of it as we go on. What is falsity? Dependent existence. It does not exist by itself. Consciousness itself appears as the mind. As the rope, in the classic example, rope appears as the snake. In the classic example, a person goes in the semi-darkness, sees a piece of rope, but doesn't see it as rope, thinks it's a snake. Mistake. It is the rope alone which is appearing as a snake. There is no snake independent of the rope. It's an appearance of the rope. Similarly, mind is an appearance in consciousness. Just note this fact. Keep these two, consciousness and mind. I am aware of the mind. I am aware of the presence of the mind. I am aware of the absence of the mind. The opposite is not true. The mind is not aware of me. The mind depends upon me to function. If you say that's too abstract, try a simple experiment right now. Think 2 plus 2, 4. The simplest thoughts. 2 plus 2 is 4. Think that thought. Now notice one thing. Are you aware of 2 plus 2, 4, or is 2 plus 2, 4 aware of you? So that's a silly question, Swami. Of course I'm aware of 2 plus 2, 4. 2 plus 2, 4 is a thought in my mind. Correct. You are aware of the thought. The thought is not aware of you. You are aware of the mind is not aware of you. No. The mind depends upon you for being revealed, for functioning, and you don't depend on the mind. The mind depends upon you. You are aware of the presence of the mind, thoughts. You are aware of the absence of the mind, no thought. So this dependent existence is called falsity. Mind is asat, false, a dependent existence, and you, consciousness, are independent. You allow the mind to function. In your light, the mind shines. Without you, the mind is nothing. It disappears. Yesterday, we did a little experiment. When we're sitting and watching, and we close our eyes, I'm still there, I just can't see. Close our ears, I'm still there, I just can't hear. Thinking, I'm aware of the thoughts. Shut down the thinking if we can. You'll still say, I'm still there, just not thinking. But the opposite is not true. If I remove that consciousness, seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, thinking, none of it is possible. It all disappears into blankness. So this is the independent nature of consciousness, and the mind is entirely dependent. It is nothing without you. It's an instrument. So he has quickly given us 6 pointers. Many and one. Anekam, ekam, one. Then chalam and achalam. Transmigrating from life to life, and I'm not transmigrating. 2. Drishyam and drashta. The seen and the seer. 3. Vikari, nirvikara. Changing and unchanging. 4. Abhyapakam, vyapakam. All pervasive, not pervasive. 5. And false or appearance nature. Asat and sat. The independent existence of consciousness and the dependent existence of the mind. With these 6 pointers, what he wants to point out is, I am not even the mind. You, the consciousness, you are not the mind. You're not the body, not the mind. You, the consciousness, are independent. The body and mind are dependent upon you. For you only they exist and they function. I am Atman, consciousness, witness. So this is what we have established. Big job done. It usually takes several classes to come to this point. And now comes the shocker. Let's go to verse number 41. This book is very well written. After putting us through all this, now Shankaracharya will say, this is no good. It does no good at all what we have accomplished so far. This is not the point of the teaching. What does he say? Let's see. Verse 41. Please repeat after me. Ityatma deha bhagena, ityatma deha bhagena, prapanchasyeva satyata, prapanchasyeva satyata, yathokta tarka shastrena, yathokta tarka shastrena, tata kim purusharthata, tata kim purusharthata. Says, so we have understood the difference between Atman and body-mind. And so what? This is what the dualists also say. All dualist philosophies say this. And ultimately, what purpose of human life is achieved by this analysis? So what does he mean here? He says, have you been pulling a trick on me? What do you mean this is useless? You see, what he's trying to say is this. Non-duality has not been achieved. Till now, we thought we were bodies and minds, and here are so many other bodies and minds, and here is a physical universe composed of millions of entities, all different from me. This is called duality. When I came here to the West, the teachers in India told me that be careful when you use the words duality and non-duality in the West. It means something different. Duality means good and evil is the duality between good and evil, like that. But in Vedanta or Indian philosophy, duality means separation. You are one entity and everything else is separate from you. This is duality. There are two or more. And non-duality is oneness. There is no second entity apart from you. Advaita Vedanta, the non-dual Vedanta, the whole point is we are all one reality. There is no second reality apart from you, that one non-dual reality. But this is not what we accomplished just now. With all this work since yesterday, what we have accomplished is this. I, the consciousness, am separate from mind and body, and about all those minds and bodies, obviously I'm separate from everything else. Till now we were thinking we are bodies and minds separate from everything else. Now we are thinking I am the consciousness separate from the body, mind and everything else. Still separation is there. After all, what at this position, if we understand, what is it that we see? I am consciousness, and in me the consciousness, I experience millions of entities, all separate from me. Did you not just prove by all these pointers, seer and seen, changing and unchanging, sentient and insentient, one and many, inner and outer, all these pointers, they're all proving what? Separation, difference. You are different from the body-mind. This is not non-duality. One might ask at this point, what's the big deal about non-duality? This in itself is fine. Already a lot has been accomplished. Why not? After all, I understand now the problems of the body are problems of the body, not my problems. They have to be dealt with, just as the problems of the car are the problems of the car, and they have to be dealt with, but they're not my problems. The car needs a change of oil. I don't. A change of oil. So there was a science fiction story a long time ago. It was a report from Planet 4 or something like that. Earth is planet Mercury, Venus, Earth? No, Mercury, Mars, Earth, and then Venus. Planet 3. So report from Planet 3. It seems aliens come in a flying saucer and they come to visit Earth and they give a report back to their mother planet. We have found intelligent life on Earth, on this planet. Planet 3 has intelligent life. And they describe the intelligent life. That this life, the living beings, are very intelligent and powerful. They are made of metal. They have 4 wheels. And they have these servants who live inside them, who feed them and clean them. And they obviously saw America from outer space. And they saw that these things, shiny metal things running all out. And everything is meant for that. Gas stations and people, everything is meant to take care of these metal things. So these must be the intelligent life of this planet, the most powerful life. No, they're cars, and we are separate from them. So already we have achieved so much. The body's problems are not my problems. And even more important, the mind's problems are not my problems. I am free. Even while being in the body-mind, I am free of it. Just as even while driving a car, I'm actually free of it. I am not the car. So why is it not enough? It's not enough because ultimately, we must ask the question, 1, I am not the body, I am not the mind, fine. But the same is true of you. You are not the body and mind, he is not the body and mind, she is not that body and mind. So how many consciousnesses are here? Clearly there are many bodies here, we can see and count. Clearly there are many minds here. Your thoughts are not my thoughts, his knowledge is not her knowledge. Minds also differ, bodies also differ, clearly. Does the consciousness behind them differ? Are we all one consciousness or many consciousnesses? This question has not been resolved. Are we separate consciousnesses? I understand that we are not body and mind, we are consciousness, but is the consciousness the same in all bodies and minds, or are they numerically different? They seem to be numerically different, because we seem to be different persons. And not only that, what is this universe? This vast universe filled with millions of entities. What is our relation to it? I, the consciousness. You see, this kind of analysis can also lead to, psychologists warn us against this, it can lead to alienation. alienation from the body, alienation from the mind, alienation from the universe, alienation, a kind of what philosophers call a kind of solipsism. I am the only consciousness that exists and there's nothing else. No. So the problem of the universe, my relationship to all of you and the universe, it's not yet solved. The Upanishads make a big deal of it. It says, Nedam neha nanasti kinchana. There is no plurality here whatsoever. They insist on non-duality, the Vedantic texts. They even go to so far as to say, the one who sees plurality here will go from death to death. Mrityu sa mrityum apnoti yaiha naneva pashyati. The one who sees multiplicity here goes from death. They could have been kinder and said goes from life to life, but they go to say they go from death to death. Which means the cycle of birth and death does not cease until we see oneness, until we see the one non-dual reality. The Upanishads further say, Dvitiyadvai bhayam bhavati. The existence of an other, completely separate from you, is the source of samsara or suffering. Until we feel our oneness with everything, samsara continues, cause and effect continue, change continues. So duality and samsara are connected. Separation and samsara are connected. Non-duality must be established. And it says, Tarka Shastrena. The other philosophies also say the same thing. You know, in the traditional Hindu philosophy, there are multiple schools. Famously 6 schools. The Nyaya, the Vaisheshika, the Sankhya, the Yoga, the Purva Mimamsa, and Vedanta, which we are studying, non-dual Vedanta. All the other schools, they are dualistic schools. They stop at this point. You are the Atman, the body-mind is separate from you, and that's it. It's finished. Even Sankhya, upon which yoga is based, stops at this point. Purusha and Prakriti. Universe, material universe, including body and mind, is separate from you, and you are consciousness. Finished. So what more have you said here in your precious non-dual Vedanta, apart from what everybody else has been saying so far? So the teacher says, let's go ahead now. Now we are really into the realm of non-duality. We're beginning that. Before we begin, we will begin in the evening session, the entry into non-duality, establishment of oneness. We will see that. We spent so much effort in establishing separation. Now we're going to take it all back. We are going to show how the mind and the body and the universe are not actually separate from you. They are one with you. But just one question before we end, an important one comes. Why did you do this? Why didn't you straight away talk about non-duality? Why establish separation first? The answer is given in verse number 42. Before we go on to non-duality, the purpose of this exercise, what we did till now, is shown in verse number 42. It's very important. Please repeat after me. Ityatma deha bhedena, ityatma deha bhedena, dehatmatvam nivaritam, dehatmatvam nivaritam, idanim deha bhedasya, idanim deha bhedasya, hyasatvam sputamuchyate, hyasatvam sputamuchyate. Till now, the difference between body, mind, and yourself, Atma, has been explained. Why? What was the purpose of it? If you are going to abandon this difference, then why did you establish in the first place? The purpose is this. Our main problem to begin with is we have no conception of ourselves as apart from the body and mind. We think we are the body and mind. We clutch this body-mind identity so tightly, and all the problems of the body-mind are my problems. First, I have to be shown that I am not body and mind. There is a spiritual reality, as they say, a beautiful saying, we think we are human beings in search of spiritual experience. The truth is we are spiritual beings having a human experience. That we are spiritual beings, it's not rhetoric, it's not just a slogan. It has to be shown that we are this spirit, this pure consciousness, apart from body and mind, so that this identification with this body and mind is removed. once we get a clarity that I am consciousness, now the rest, body, mind, and the universe, can be reduced back to consciousness so that oneness of consciousness is established. So that is the purpose, which is why we did this first part of the exercise, which means non-duality, Advaita, has 2 steps. I gave a talk once. 2 steps to not to. Not to is non-duality. So 2 steps to not to. 2 steps. First, establish that you are pure consciousness, pure being, apart from body, mind. And then, second step, show that body, mind, and indeed everything else and everyone else is nothing but that one pure consciousness. Then only non-duality is established. I'll end with this example, which I like very much, which shows the whole process in a very nice example. Imagine there is a wave out there. I like this example. There's a little wave which is born out there in the ocean there. And this little wave grows up with other little waves, friends, little waves. It goes to wave school maybe. And it finds that some little waves are its friends. Very soon problems come. As we grow up, problems come. Some waves are friendly, other waves are mean to it. And then it finds there are big waves. Oh my God, this is such a huge wave, a tsunami wave, or what's something. I'm just a loser compared to this wave. And there are tiny waves and little bubbles. Oh, that's nothing. What a loser. I'm much better than that. Jealousy and envy and contempt and difference and friendships and enmity, all these come up. But the biggest problem is yet to come. The little wave sees, oh my God, what's that? What's that coming up? And they say, that's the Bahamas. Bahamas, what happens there? That's where all waves go to die. They hit the shore and you die. I'm going to die? Yes, everybody dies. All waves die. You hit the shore and die. That's the destiny of all waves. Oh my God, death. I'm finished. And he sees all those big waves and small waves crashing against the Bahamas, and there's foam and surf, and that's it. Finished. Wave life gone. Then comes a Vedantic wave next to it and says, you know, you're right. We have all these problems, envy and jealousy and small and big and change and then death. But there is something which is not born, which does not die, which is same everywhere. It is called water. Then the little wave says, water, that's nice, good for it, but what about me? But you are water. Look at yourself, examine yourself. Are you a wave or are you water? Quite apart from your wave form and the wave action, look at yourself. Inside, deep inside, you find water. On the surface, you are water. On all sides, you are water. And the little wave sees, yes, I am not a wave, I am water. And the moment it sees that it is water, it immediately realizes the boundaries between it and what is the boundary between one wave and another? Clearly you can see it. What is the boundary in water? No boundary. The water is not limited to this wave and that wave. Immediately it expands and covers the entire ocean. I am one with the entire ocean. In the tsunami wave, I am. In the little bubble, I am. No envy, no contempt. In the so-called friend and the enemy, I am. I, water, appear as big waves and little waves, friendly waves and mean waves. And when I crash into the Bahamas, the wave form is lost. But I continue as surf, as foam. When the sun shines upon me, I float up into the sky as water vapor. I come down as rain, and I run from the sea, rivers back into the ocean. I am still the same water. As water, I am not affected. I am immortal. I am non-dual. All the thousands of waves, bubbles, they are all not apart from me. They're all one with me. This is non-duality. We will see how we can become the water and the one consciousness in everything in the evening. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.